Chapter 1. The Target That Smiled Back. The underworld had a rule. If Kael Virelli took the job, the target was already dead. No second chances. No failures. No survivors. Which is why... You want me to kill him? Kael leaned back in his chair, boots resting on the glass table, staring at the file like it personally offended him. Across from him, his father, Dante Virelli, Mafia lord, menace to society, and part-time drama king, smiled like he was offering dessert instead of a death sentence. Not want, Dante corrected lazily. I expect you to. Uncle Marcos snorted from the side, already pouring himself whiskey at 11 a.m. Think of it as a challenge, kid. No one's ever managed to kill him. Kael's eye twitched. Target name, Niel Ardent. Status, billionaire CEO. Classification, Enigma. Reputation, untouchable, ruthless, unkillable. Kael scoffed. Sounds boring. But his fingers tightened slightly on the file. Because if no one could kill him, then Kael had to. The gala. 2 nights later. Kael Virelli wasn't an assassin. Tonight, he was. A ridiculously attractive, suspiciously rich, definitely not dangerous guest. Dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit, hair slicked back just enough to look expensive but not try hard, Kael walked into the Ardent Gala like he owned the place. Crystal chandeliers. Champagne fountains. People worth more than small countries. And Kael? He was scanning exits. Counting guards. Mapping escape routes. Also stealing a macaron from a passing tray. Too sweet, he muttered, already grabbing another one. Target acquired. There. Across the room. Niel Ardent. Tall, composed, surrounded by people who looked like they'd sell their souls for a glance. Cold eyes, sharp features, untouchable aura. Kael narrowed his gaze. So that's the unkillable CEO. He looks annoying. And then, Niel turned. Their eyes met. Kael froze. Not physically, but mentally. Because instead of suspicion, or fear, Niel smiled. Soft, warm, fond. Like he had just found something precious. Like, Kael belonged to him. What the hell? Kael muttered. Niel excused himself from the crowd and started walking toward him. The cornering. Kael moved first. Not away. Forward. He slipped through the crowd, down a quiet hallway, into a private lounge. And waited. The door clicked. Niel walked in. Alone. Calm. Unbothered. Was wondering when you'd come, Niel said softly. Kael blinked. You knew? Niel tilted his head, eyes scanning him slowly. Hard not to notice someone staring at me like they're planning murder. Pause. Then, a smile. But you're cuter than I expected, Kael snapped. The fight. The knife flashed. Fast, precise, deadly. Straight for the heart. Niel moved. Not panicked. Not rushed. Just slightly to the side. The blade missed. Kael attacked again. Faster. Sharper. Deadlier. Miss. Dodge. Step. Turn. It went on. Minutes passed. Then more. Kael's breathing grew heavier. His movements, though still lethal, lost their perfect rhythm. And Niel? Didn't even look like he was trying. No sweat. No strain. Just watching him. With those same eyes. Soft. Obsessive. Adoring. Are you done yet? Niel asked gently. Kael nearly choked. Shut up! Another strike. Blocked. Another. Dodged. Your form improved, Niel hummed thoughtfully. Die. Half an hour later. Kael stepped back, chest rising and falling. This was ridiculous. He had never been pushed like this. And Niel? Still perfect. Still calm. Still staring at him like Kael was something to treasure. I'm leaving, Kael snapped. This wasn't over. He just needed a better plan. He turned. And suddenly, caught. An arm wrapped around his waist. Pulled him back. Hard. Kael froze, because he was trapped. In Niel Ardent's arms. Got you, Niel murmured softly. Let go. Kael thrashed, kicked, twisted. Nothing worked. The grip tightened. Warm, solid, unyielding. You're even more adorable up close, Niel whispered. Kael's brain short-circuited. I will kill you. Later, Niel said calmly. And then marry you. What? The kiss? Before Kael could react, Niel tilted his chin up and kissed him. Not soft, not hesitant, devouring. Kael's mind went blank. Completely. Utterly. System shut down. For a few seconds, he didn't move, didn't think, didn't breathe. Then, error. Kael snapped back and bit Niel's lip hard. Chaos. Niel pulled back. And instead of anger, he lit up. Ah, he laughed softly. You bite. Kael stared at him in horror. Niel reached out, cooing, like Kael was a feral kitten. Cute. Stop calling me that. Kael shoved him and bolted. Escape? He sprinted through the hallway, down the stairs, out into the night. Heart racing, mind spiraling, lips still tingling. You, Kael shouted back, face burning. I'll kill you next time. Behind him, Niel stood at the doorway, watching, smiling, eyes soft, possessive. I'll be waiting, Niel called out. Voice warm, certain. Then, softly. My love? Kael almost tripped. And next time, Niel added, amused, I'll make sure you stay. Kael hissed. Actually hissed. Like an angry cat. Crazy bastard. And disappeared into the night. Back inside. One of Niel's assistants approached cautiously. Sir, should we increase security? Niel touched his lip, still faintly bleeding, and smiled. No. A pause. Prepare gifts instead. Gifts? Niel's eyes softened. I finally found him again. Silence. Then, my Kael. And somewhere in the city, Kael Virelli sneezed violently. Why do I feel like my life just got worse? Chapter 2. The Assassin Being Courted. If anyone had told Kael Virelli that one day, his target would start courting him instead of dying, he would have stabbed them on the spot. It had been 2 months since the gala. 2 months of failed assassination attempts. 2 months of absolute nonsense. Day 1. Gifts. Kael woke up to a knock. He opened the door, already irritated, and froze. Boxes. Stacks and stacks of boxes. Jewelry, weapons, clothes, expensive desserts, and a note. Kael stared at it like it had personally insulted his ancestors. Eat well, my future husband. You looked tired yesterday, Niel. Silence. Future what? He burned the note. Kept the desserts. Attempt number 1. Location rooftop, midnight. Perfect angle, perfect shot. Kael aimed. Pulled the trigger. Click. He blinked. Looked down. The gun had been disassembled. What? A voice behind him. Looking for this? Kael turned slowly. Niel stood there, holding the parts of his weapon, smiling. How did you even? You left your window open, Niel said casually. I dropped by. Kael's eye twitched. You broke into my house? I brought snacks. That's not the point. Attempt number 2. Kael tried poison next. A high-end restaurant. He slipped it into Niel's drink. Sat back. Waited. Niel picked up the glass. Paused. Looked at Kael. Smiled. And swapped their drinks. Kael choked. Don't! Niel leaned forward, resting his chin on his hand. You should be more careful, he murmured. What if you poison yourself? Kael slammed the table. Drink it. Niel blinked innocently. You want me to? Yes. Niel drank it. Nothing happened. Kael stared. Why aren't you dead? Niel smiled. I built an immunity. Pause. For you. Kael nearly flipped the table. Attempt number 3. Explosion. Simple. Effective. Kael planted it in Niel's car. Watched from afar. Waited. Boom. Smoke. Fire. Chaos. Kael smirked. Finally, a hand tapped his shoulder. You missed me. Kael slowly turned. Niel stood there. Completely fine. Holding flowers. For you, Niel said gently. Kael stared at him. Then at the burning car. Then back at him. I hate you. I love you too. I didn't say that. The courting. After that, Niel didn't even pretend anymore. He showed up everywhere. Kael goes to a cafe? Niel already owns it. Kael enters a weapons market? Niel bought the entire building. Kael visits a safe house. Niel is inside, cooking. Try this, Niel said, holding out a spoon. Kael stared. Did you break into this one too? I have a key. Who gave you a key? You did. I did not. You left it under the mat. That doesn't count. Kael's mental state. Deteriorating. Rapidly. He tried ignoring him. Didn't work. He tried attacking him. Didn't work. He tried running away. Niel caught him. Every time. And then, the pheromones. Whenever Kael got too aggressive, Niel would step closer. Too close where the air would shift. Heavy. Warm? Kael's breath would hitch. His body would react. Back off, Kael growled. Niel tilted his head. Soft. Gentle. Dangerous. You're trembling. I am not. Niel leaned in. Voice low. Liar. Kael snapped. Shoved him hard. Face burning. Stop doing that. And ran. Again. The first failure. 2 months. Countless attempts. And for the first time in his life, Kael Virelli did the unthinkable. He dropped the mission. I'll kill him later. He told himself that. Repeatedly. He did not believe it. Family reaction. Back home. Kael sat dramatically on the couch, staring into nothing. I'm being harassed, he said before continuing. The whole thing. Silence. Then, Uncle Marco whispered. This is better than television. Kael snapped his head toward them. You're not taking this seriously? Dante sipped his drink calmly. Oh, we are. Pause. We're very invested. His mother, Serafina, sighed dreamily. He sounds devoted. He's insane. Same thing, she waved it off. Kael stood up. He broke into my house. Dante shrugged. Means he's committed. He dismantled my gun. Smart boy. He kissed me. Silence. All heads turned. He what? Marco leaned forward. Kael froze. Nothing. No, say that again. Nothing. Serafina clasped her hands. Oh, this is getting interesting. Kael stared at them. Betrayed. Horrified. I was raised by traitors. Dante smiled. Correction. He raised his glass. You were raised by people who enjoy entertainment. That night, Kael lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling. I'm going to kill him. A pause. His phone buzzed. A message. From Niel. Did you eat dinner? Another one. Don't skip meals. Another. Good night, my future husband. Kael threw the phone across the room. I'm going to kill him. The phone buzzed again. I miss you. Silence. Kael buried his face into his pillow. I hate my life. Chapter 3. Bribed into love. 6 months. 6 whole months. That's how long Kael Virelli, top assassin, terror of the underworld, menace to society, had been harassed, chased, gifted, stalked, fed, and emotionally destabilized by one lovesick Enigma CEO. And today? Today was the day Kael finally snapped. The final straw. Kael walked into his penthouse and stopped. Silence. Then, what? His living room was gone. Not destroyed. Not broken. Replaced. Replaced by a full wall of limited edition custom weapons, the kind that shouldn't even exist legally. A table stacked with rare, imported desserts from 6 different countries. A giant screen displaying a private island with the words, Training ground, yours. Kael blinked. Once. Twice. He bought me an island. His phone buzzed. I noticed you like training in isolated places. This one has no surveillance. You're safe there. Also, I added a bakery. For you. Niel. Kael stared at the message. Then at the desserts. Then at the weapons. Then back at the message. This is manipulation. Pause. Effective manipulation. He grabbed a dessert. Took a bite. Oh, this is really good. Silence. I'm going to accept. The confession. Later that evening, Niel stood in front of him calm as always, hopeful, soft, ridiculously in love. Kael crossed his arms dramatically, avoiding eye contact. I have something to say. Niel straightened slightly. Yes? Kael pointed aggressively at the desserts. I'm not doing this because I like you. Niel blinked. Okay. It's because of this. The tiramisu? Yes. And the weapons? Those too. And the island? Shut up. Silence. Then? So you accept my courtship? Niel asked gently. Kael looked away, face slightly red. Whatever? Pause. Yes. Niel. Yeah. Overjoyed. Niel froze. Then, his entire expression softened, like the sun came out. Kael. He stepped closer. Kael immediately pointed a knife at him. Don't get emotional. I won't, Niel said, then added softly. But I'm very happy. Kael's ears turned red. Shut up. Family announcement. Kael stormed into the Virelli mansion like a man heading into war. I have an announcement. His entire family looked up. Dante sipping wine. Marco eating snacks. Serafina reading a magazine. Cousins lounging like background chaos. Kael took a deep breath. I accepted Niel Ardent's courtship. Silence. Then, yeah, we know. Betrayal. Kael froze. You what? Marco waved lazily. Yeah, kid, took you long enough. Serafina smiled. We were wondering when you'd give in. Dante raised his glass. To love. Kael stared at them. You knew? Yes. This whole time? Yes. And you said nothing? Marco shrugged. It was entertaining. Kael clutched his chest. I was suffering. The real reveal. Dante sighed, setting his glass down. Actually, we didn't just know. Pause. We helped him. Silence. Kael blinked. You. Another blink. What? Serafina smiled sweetly. Oh, yes, darling, we told him everything. Everything? Your favorite food, your routines, your hiding spots? My hiding spots? Marco added helpfully. Your tantrum triggers too. You sold me out? Dante corrected calmly. We strategically supported your romantic development. Kael screamed. I was sold. How Niel did it. Marco leaned back, grinning. Kid came to us first. Kael froze. He what? Dante nodded. Walked into my office like he owned the place. Serafina sighed dreamily. Very polite. Marco snorted. Offered me $1 billion deal. Kael turned slowly. You took it. Obviously. Traitor? Dante raised a hand. He didn't just offer money. Pause. He said he wanted to court you properly. Silence. Kael blinked. Properly? Serafina nodded. He asked what you liked. What made you smile? Marco added. What made you angry too? Said it was cute. Kael's soul left his body. The big twist. Dante leaned forward. And then he told us something interesting. Kael narrowed his eyes. What? Dante smirked. That he's been in love with you since high school. System shut down. Kael froze. What? Serafina smiled softly. You still have his picture in your room, don't you? Kael's brain stopped working. What? Marco pointed lazily. Top drawer, under your weapons. Kael choked. How do you know that? Because we cleaned your room once. You went through my things? Focus, Dante cut in. That annoying Enigma you just accepted? Pause. Same boy. Realization. Kael staggered back. High school. A boy. Warm smile. Soft eyes. The one he... No. His voice cracked slightly. No way. Serafina tilted her head. Why do you think he never fought you? Marco added. Or why he let you bite him? Dante smirked. Or why he looks at you like you hung the moon? Silence. Kael's face went pale. I kissed him. Pause. No, he kissed me. Another pause. I tried to kill him. Marco shrugged. Romantic, in your own way? Dramatic breakdown. Kael grabbed his head. I accepted a proposal from my ex without knowing it was my ex. Serafina clapped. Oh, this is like a drama. Dante raised his glass again. Best one yet. Kael pointed at them. I was betrayed. Marco grinned. You were matched. Against my will. Successfully. I hate all of you. Love you too, they said in unison. Chapter 4. The Love That Never Left Them. Kael Virelli stood in the middle of his family's living room, holding a photo, staring at it like it had personally ruined his life. So, he said slowly, very slowly, dangerously slowly, if Niel is that Niel, his eye twitched, then why didn't he just tell me? Silence. His family opened their mouths, but someone beat them to it. Because I thought you loved someone else. Arms wrapped around Kael from behind. Warm, familiar. Kael froze. You. Niel Ardent rested his chin on Kael's shoulder like he belonged there. Which, unfortunately, he did. I was going to tell you, Niel said softly. Kael turned his head slightly, eyes narrowing. Explain. The misunderstanding. Niel sighed. Months ago, before the gala, flashback tone slipped into his voice. I finally found you again. Across the city. From a distance. After years. I was going to approach you, Niel continued. Tell you everything. Ask you to come back to me. Pause. Then I heard you. Kael frowned. Heard me what? Niel's arms tightened slightly. You were on the phone. Silence. You said you were in love with someone. Chaos mode activated. Kael blinked. I said that? Niel nodded. Face serious. Voice calm. But slightly unhinged underneath. Yes? A pause. So I lost my mind. Obsession upgrade. Marco coughed. Slightly lost his mind, he corrected. Dante smirked. Came straight to me the next day. Kael turned slowly. He what? The deal. Dante leaned back, amused. He walked into my office and said, Dante deepened his voice dramatically. Help me win, Kael, and I'll hand over the billion-dollar deal. Marco raised his hand proudly. I accepted immediately. Kael pointed at him. Of course you did. Business is business. Niels sighed. Niel buried his face slightly into Kael's shoulder. I thought, if you love someone else? His voice dropped. Softer. Then I'd have to take you back anyway. Silence. Kael blinked. Take me back. Yes? Against my will. Yes? You're insane. I know. The truth. Kael suddenly started laughing. Not normal laughing. The kind of laughing where you question your entire existence. I remember, he wheezed. Everyone paused. You remember what? Serafina asked. Kael wiped his eyes. That call. He pointed at Niel. You idiot. What? I was talking about you. System crash, again. Niel froze. What? Kael rolled his eyes. My colleague asked if I ever liked someone. Pause. And I said yes. Another pause. You. Silence. I was talking about my high school crush. He crossed his arms. The only person I've ever liked. Niel stared at him. Like his entire world just rewrote itself. Me? Yes, you idiot. You were in love with me? Still am. Silence. Kael froze. I didn't mean to say that out loud. Family reaction. Serafina clutched her chest. Oh, this is beautiful. Marco whispered. I'm tearing up. Dante raised his glass. True love wins again. Kael pointed at them. Stop watching like this is a show. Flashback high school. Niel's gaze softened. You disappeared, he said quietly. The room grew still. Kael looked away. I had to. Flashback. 2 boys. School uniforms. Shared lunches. Hidden smiles. A quiet love. Soft. Real. Until Kael stepped back. Cold. Distant. Don't come near me anymore. Niel standing there. Confused. Hurt. And Kael walking away. Not because he stopped loving him, but because he loved him too much. Back to present. My family isn't normal, Kael muttered. That's an understatement, Marco added. Kael ignored him. I didn't want you involved. He glanced at Niel. I thought you deserved a normal life. Silence. Niel stepped closer. But I didn't want normal. His hand gently held Kael's. I wanted you. Chaos returns. Kael stared at him. You're still annoying. I know. And obsessive. Yes. And insane. Only for you. Kael's face turned red. Shut up. The kiss. Without warning. Kael grabbed Niel by the collar and kissed him. Hard, deep, possessive. Right there, in front of his entire family. Silence. And then, Marco whispered, finally. Serafina wiped a tear. I've been waiting for this. Dante raised his glass again. Worth the investment. Kael pulled back slightly, still holding Niel close. You're not getting away this time. Niel smiled softly. I was never planning to. And just like that, the love they buried years ago came back, stronger, crazier, and far more dangerous. Chapter 5. Marriage, Madness, the Shrine, and Their Happily Ever After. If Chaos had a wedding, it would look exactly like Kael and Niel's. The wedding. It was grand, luxurious, over the top, and completely unhinged. Politicians on one side, Mafia bosses on the other. Assassins disguised as waiters. Actual waiters terrified for their lives. Kael stood at the altar, dressed in black, looking like he might stab someone out of habit. If anyone tries anything, he muttered, adjusting his cuff, I'm ending them. Beside him, Niel looked like the happiest man alive. Soft smile. Eyes only on Kael. I already arranged security, Niel said gently. Kael scoffed. I am the security. Family chaos. In the front row, Serafina was crying dramatically. My baby is getting married. Marco was whispering. I bet they won't last a week before breaking furniture. Dante raised his glass. They already have. What? Kael snapped. Nothing, they said in unison. Vows, sort of. Priest? Do you take? Kael, yes, move on. Priest. Sir, I haven't finished. Niel, softly smiling. I do. Kael glanced at him. Don't look at me like that. Like what? Like I'm your entire world. You are. Kael froze. Face red. Shut up. Married life. Their married life? Chaotic. Intense. Completely unbalanced. Niel. Clingy. Possessive. Soft only for Kael. Kael. Bratty. Dramatic. Violent. Affectionately. They fought. They argued. They chased each other across the house. And every single time, they ended up tangled together again. Close. Breathless. Unable to stay apart for long. Marco once. Do they ever leave their room? Dante. Why would they? Serafina. Let them be. It's bonding. Kael, from upstairs. Stop commenting on my life. 5 months later, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Kael stared at the report in his hand. No. Silence. No way. Niel beside him. Kael? Kael slowly turned. Explain. Niel blinked. About what? Kael shoved the report into his face. This? Pause. Niel read it. Then froze. Oh. Family reaction. 5 minutes later. He's pregnant? Marco shouted. Serafina fainted. Dante looked proud. I'm going to be a grandfather. Kael screamed. I'm going to be a mother. Pregnancy chaos. Kael became worse. Dramatic 100. Mood swings. Random cravings at 3 a.m. Get me mangoes. It's winter, Niel said gently. I don't care. I'll find them. And he did. From another country. Niel, obsession level. Max. Niel did not leave Kael alone. Ever. Following him everywhere. Holding him constantly. Watching him like he might disappear. Stop staring at me. I'm making sure you're okay. I'm sitting. Safely. You're insane. Yes, family care. Despite the chaos, his family took care of him. Serafina, feeding him, fussing over him, crying daily. Marco, bringing snacks, making jokes, getting yelled at. Dante, quietly ensuring no one even breathes wrong near Kael. Kael one day. Why are you all acting like this? Serafina, you're carrying our grandchild. Marco, and we like you slightly more now. Slightly? The shrine. 7 months in, Kael got bored, which was dangerous. He wandered into Niel's office. What's this? A bookshelf. Slightly off. Kael narrowed his eyes. Suspicious. He pushed it. Click. A hidden door opened. Silence. No way. Inside. Kael stepped in and froze. The room was him everywhere. Photos, old and new, candid, hidden, smiling, sleeping. Items. Things he touched. Things he liked. Things he once mentioned casually. Everything. Collected. Preserved. Like a shrine. Kael stared. I knew it. Caught? Kael? Footsteps? Fast? Panicked? Before Kael could react, Niel rushed in, scooped him up, and carried him out. Hey! No, Niel said quickly. You shouldn't be there. He glanced back at the room. Relieved. Like it was sacred. Untouchable. Final realization. Kael crossed his arms. That was you. Silence. The stalker. Niel froze. What? The one that had stalked me like a lunatic for years who I couldn't catch no matter what. Pause. Watching me for years? Niel looked away, and for the first time, he looked guilty, like a kicked puppy. Kael stared. You're serious? Niel said nothing. Acceptance. Kael sighed. Long. Seared. Then, he stepped forward, pulled Niel closer. You're insane. Pause. But you're mine. Niel's eyes softened. Always yours. Months later. A baby cried. Healthy. Strong. A boy. Name? Kael Virelli Ardent. Kael held him carefully. Still dramatic? Still overwhelmed. He looks like you. Niel smiled softly. I hope he acts like you. Absolutely not. The family. Even worse now. Serafina. My grandchild. Marco. Future assassin or CEO? Dante. Both? Kael. None of you are touching him. Niel already holding the baby. He's safe. Kael glared. Give him back. No. Niel. And just like this in the end, the hunter became the prey. The prey became the one who captured him. And somewhere in between, they built a life. Chaotic. Obsessive. Full of love. And completely irrevocably theirs.